Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I've got a very special video for you today because I've collated all of the things that you probably didn't know and also added a few bonus ones in to the end of the video. This way they're all in one place and it's going to be much easier for you to look through them. I do many guides and tutorials and other videos like this on a weekly basis, so if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps out tremendously and I much appreciate it. Also, if you have any video suggestions or requests, please let me know. Feel free to pop it down in the comments, or alternatively, we have a Discord server. I'll leave a link to the Discord down in the description. If you do want to join, make sure you head over to the role request channel, and then you can make sure you sign up to notifications for any game that you like, and also your favourite gaming platforms and where you're from. Along with Bannerlord, there are many community games that we play together, both on and off stream, and it would be wonderful to have as many people in the Discord as possible so that I can interact with you more often and we can help each other out. Without any more hesitation, let's get into the video, and as I say, stick around to the end for a few bonus tips. These tips will be in no particular order, and I will leave links to them all down in the description in case there is a particular tip that you wanted to skip to. Firstly, when converting a lord to your kingdom, make sure that you are at war with them, because then they will bring their towns, villages and castles with them. If you aren't at war with them, you will still recruit them, but all of their lands will be given to another lord from their previous kingdom. Also, try to make sure that you're recruiting them out in the field, because when negotiating the terms, you can trade items with them. Whereas if they're in a castle or a town, you can only trade money. As you saw just then, most of my conversation options were 100%. To learn how to make it so easy to recruit lords to your kingdom, please refer to my recruiting lords guide that I will link down in the description and also up above on the card at the top right of this video. You're going to need to make sure that you have enough money and enough items to actually recruit the lords. This is where smithing comes in handy and can make you rich. As you can see here, I have nowhere near enough items or money to successfully recruit this lord to my kingdom. However, if you follow my smithing guide, you can easily have 10 million, if not 20 million dinars, and hordes of javelins in your inventory that will easily convert any lord to your faction. Again, I'll leave the link to that down in the description and up above right now. This will mean that you don't have this issue, and you should be able to recruit any lord without any problem. Another side tip here, actually. I've just thought of another one as I'm in the middle of making this video. Did you know that if you do fail a conversation skill check to have a lord join your kingdom, you can wait approximately a month, I believe it is, maybe 2, and you can actually try again. Not only that, they will carry over the success that they already had from your previous conversation. My fourth tip should significantly help when escorting or following parties. If you hold down left alt before then left clicking on a party, your character will automatically follow that party at the exact same speed, provided that your maximum running speed is higher than theirs. This will really help when following side by side with an army, or such as doing a caravan escort quest. It's such a simple little trick, and I don't know why it's not in the tutorial. It helps massively. This next tip should significantly help you improve the rate at which you level up your troops. As you can see here, I've got 77 Imperial recruits and 24 Sturgian recruits, and I'm going to show you that the more units you have in a stack, the quicker they level up. Therefore, you don't want to actually upgrade a stack of units until they have all leveled up. Here's a party of 107 looters. We will auto-resolve this battle. We lost around 20 units, that's fine. For this example, as you can see, 24 Imperial recruits leveled up, but only 9 Sturgian recruits. Therefore, endgame, if you're trying to level up a lot of recruits very quickly, you want to wait until all of them are ready to upgrade, bulk upgrade them all at once, and rinse and repeat until they're at the maximum level. This is the most efficient way to level up your troops, and you'll find that doing so makes them level up far quicker. Here's another money-making tip for you. Once a city has recently been taken, it doesn't matter who took it or even if you were at war with the faction, just that a city has recently been taken, you can then go in and make a lot of money off selling goods to that city, because they will most likely have very recently ran out of everything. So now that we've finished that battle, we will go into the city and we will trade. And as you can see, we have a few goods. Meat sells for an absolute fortune, as does cheese. Butter's also quite expensive. This city probably isn't the best example because this siege was very short-lived because they only had 50 defenders. But you'll find the longer a city has been besieged for, the more profitable trading with that city will become afterwards. You'll usually find that they have completely run out of food and there is very little of anything else left in the city either. So if there has been a particularly long siege, try and get there as quickly as possible and you can make an absolute fortune off of them. Also, by doing so, your trade skill will increase. I now have a few combat tips for you, which will significantly help when facing armies that are a lot stronger than you or a lot bigger than you, both in troop quality and quantity. And it all comes down to reducing their morale as quickly as possible. There are two really easy, really effective ways of reducing morale and making fights a lot easier for yourself. First and foremost, kill the leader. Kill the enemy leader as quickly as you can. This will drastically drain the troops' morale and make them fight far less efficiently. And secondly, a more sustainable way throughout the battle is headshots. Headshots with bows, crossbows, and javelins. Every headshot will decrease the morale of the enemy troops because the others will see their comrades' brains being splattered all over the floor, and naturally they will dislike this, and it will make them fight worse.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
And even though I died towards the end of that fight, as you can see, yes, we had a few more troops than the enemy, but most of our troops are recruits and very low level Imperial troops. And they broke when there was still roughly 20 troops remaining in their army because their morale was so low. Our last money-making tip, and also a way to get quite cheap food, is essentially extorting villagers. You want to wait outside of a town whilst the villagers go in and sell their goods. Just keep waiting. Eventually they'll come back out again. I've missed that group, unfortunately, because I clicked the wrong button. When these guys exit the town, we will speak to them. And you'll see they've got lots of old workhorses that they no longer need. They sell them for 17 dinars each. There you go. 8 workhorses, 136 dinars. Job done. Now let's go into our inventory. Find the old workhorses, slaughter them all, and we'll find that we got 48 meat and 16 hides out of that. Now bearing in mind I could be very efficient with selling all of this, but let's not be. Let's just go to the nearest town. What was it, did I say 136 dinars that it cost us to buy them? And we just sold the whole lot for 1,500. We increased our money 12 or 13 times then. And if you're efficient with where you sell it, you can even increase your trade skill or keep the meat. It's essentially free food. And I can sit here as long as I want and repeat this process. We'll just wait for some more villagers to turn up, wait for them to sell their goods, speak to them again once I press the right button. 14 workhorses, 238 dinars. Thank you very much. Let's slaughter them all again, go to trade, and there's another 2,500. Again, more than 10 times my money back, or keep all the food. Basically, free food. This next tip is about using terrain to your advantage in battle. For those of you that don't know, the terrain that you are on in the campaign map directly correlates to the terrain you'll be fighting on when you go into battle. It will be hard to demonstrate this in action, but if I explain to you the theory, and then you can put this into practice when the situation or the need arises. Say if this person had a particularly horse-heavy army and they were stronger than me. If I fight them out in the open, I'm dead. I'm gonna lose. However, if it's quite a mountainous region or in the forest, I stand a chance. Therefore, if I try and attack this person in the forest, when we go into battle, you'll see it's completely wooded. It's full of trees. So if I was against a particularly cavalry-heavy army, I would position all my troops over here somewhere and force the cavalry to run at me in between all these trees. And suddenly the fact that they're on horses means nothing anymore, and we stand a much better chance than we would if we were fighting out in the open. Equally, if you've got the horse heavy army, then you want to make sure that you are fighting out in the open so you can lead armies out into the open or chase them out into the open if you have the stronger party to give yourself favorable battle terrain to fight on. Yeah! It's something you always want to keep in mind, and you always want to make sure that you're fighting on favorable terrains to help improve your chances in battle. Here's bonus tip number 12 for you. Getting crazy skillful headshots in battle massively increases your riding skill. I think that just went up about 15 points in less than that many arrows. That's insane. Take that one away, everyone. 21 points in riding we got that battle. Wow. Also F's in chat for Leanna. She served as well. And my final tip is to make sure that you focus your skill tree. You don't want to try and spread yourself too thin and learn every single skill. Just in case you didn't know, the higher your level is and the more you level up skills, the slower your learning rate becomes. At the start of the game, this learning rate right here was roughly ×6. It's now gone right down to ×0.5. So any skills that you think won't benefit you far into your campaign, completely ignore them, or you will spread yourself too thin and you will level up too slowly. So you ideally want to pick one melee weapon, one ranged weapon, and just focus on them, and then have a look at these skills and carefully think what you will want to use late into your campaign. A lot of people I know don't bother with a scout and they level scouting up themselves. I like to leave this so that I can focus on something else, and I will specifically assign a scouting companion in my party. Same with medicine and same with engineering. You can even do the same with a quartermaster who requires the trade skill. Your brother is a really good example of a quartermaster. I personally like leveling up trade, so I will do this one myself. But again, you can ignore trade and you can focus more in tactics or in athletics. Just make sure that you aren't putting points into everything, or it just won't be feasible. This is how you can marry someone, even with low charm skill and no luck with them conversational skill checks. All you need to do is speak to the leader of the clan. There's something I'd like to discuss. I would like to propose an alliance between our families through marriage. My own hand. Sylvind. Oh, Sylvind is a very good bride. Very good. And there we go. We can marry Sylvind just like that. How much easier is that? You can just do this. You can just bribe your way into marriage. I'm not actually going to marry just yet, because we have a top 10 eligible brides of Calradia coming up in the coming weeks on this channel. So we're actually going to reject that marriage offer, but it is easy as that. Now, should we get on to tip number 2? The next couple of tips are going to be based around combat, so I'm going to ransack this poor helpless caravan here. Firstly, I'll come back to this tip at the end of the fight, but check the top right hand corner, have a look at the death text that comes up. You might notice something that not many of you know about, and I will show you how to do that if you do enjoy it at the end of the fight. Now, straight off the bat, I'm so glad that it slows time by 25% now, so that I can talk you through this in real time. Select your archers and put them in advanced mode. People usually stay away from advanced because it's a little bit ambiguous what it actually does. Think of advanced like a cross between charge and skirmish. They will get within range of the enemy and then they will consistently move back to keep a certain amount of distance away from them. Once the battle has been engaged and your melee troops are in the front line and the shield wall, etc., you're going around the back with your cavalry, you always want your archers in advance so that they can skirmish. It's absolutely fantastic. So firstly, we're going to sort all the other troops out, then we're going to send the archers in on advance. And the second tip is you don't want to do the same thing with horse archers despite the fact that they are also ranged. Advance sometimes messes up with them a bit. Actually, for horse archers, they are best in charge, and I'll show you why now. So, what your horse archers will do when they're in charge mode is they will actually continuously circle the enemy. And once they run out of arrows, they will then naturally pull out their melee weapons and charge in one by one. So, once you've engaged in the main bulk of combat, and obviously you're not doing hit and run guerrilla tactics, you haven't got them following you, whereas you want your archers on advance so that they skirmish, you want horse archers on charge so that they continuously loop around the enemy like sharks. That is their equivalent of skirmish. Charge works differently for horse archers, and it makes them so damn effective. So now with them two tactics in play, let's watch us just obliterate the enemies in this fight. I've pulled out my infantry and my cavalry, so we hopefully don't suffer too many losses, and the archers and the horse archers just go to town on them.
Infantry, forward!
Gonna pull the infantry away completely and do some cycle charges with the cav. And now that they're weak enough, we'll just send everyone in to charge. There we are. We suffered 3 wounded, 0 casualties. And now if you did enjoy the very simplistic battle report at the top right of the screen, it is simply an option that you can toggle off. You go into gameplay, and in report casualties, you want only icons, only in SP. This is what it defaults to when you see everyone's names. Someone in my Twitch chat did say, oh, I like that kind of, but I also would like to know if any of my party, any of my companions, or any of the lords go down. Good news is, it still reports kills and deaths from named units. So companions, family members, parties, lords, it's only all the other units that it switches off. So honestly, this makes your screen so crisp and so clear. That is tip number 4 for you. Strongly suggest running the game like this. Tip number 5 is to do with caravans. For your caravans, when picking your companions, most people here probably pick either Swift or I believe it's Spice Vendor. They are great. They do start making you some good money. However, for late game, you really seriously want to value riding and scouting over trade skill. There are many reasons for this, and I'll talk you through the main ones now. So, the companion that I currently have in a caravan is Geraint Horse Thief, and he has got riding and scouting skill. A few reasons that you want to prefer these over trade is his survivability and his speed. Once a companion has been assigned as a caravan, it's very easy, very quick for them to increase the trade skill. However, as we all probably know, by the time you get late game, all your caravans are getting captured and killed, even by common parties of sea raiders, forest bandits, etc, etc. And that is because they're not quick enough, nor are they able to see far enough to avoid enemy parties. It's all well and good them having 200 trade and making really profitable trades, but if they're gonna die constantly and not give you all that money, then what's the point? Always focus on companions that favour riding and scouting in their starting stats, and they can build up the trade skill themselves. I have another playthrough that we're actually currently doing over on Twitch, and my riding scouting companion is making me 3 or 4 times more money a day than my trade-focused caravan. The next tip for you is with your troop management. Obviously, for your inventory, you have these sort features. They're pretty good. You don't really have anything like that for your troops. However, I have a very quick, very easy way to make everything wonderful for you, and it is this. Remove, re-add. Simple as that. All of your companions come to the top, and everyone else is arranged in tier order. You might be saying, oh, that's not great. I wanted them ordered by faction or ordered by troop type, maybe. It would be amazing to have a sort or a filter option up here somewhere, but for now, just remove them and re-add them, and they are now sorted in tier. This makes troop management so much easier, and it is the simplest thing to be able to do. And you can do the exact same thing with prisoners. Ooh, what's more than that? I've actually just had a thought. When you start to own fiefs, castles, towns, etc., if you have more troops than what your party capacity will allow, add them all in over here. So say I've currently got 200 troops over here and I can only have 66. As soon as you hit this transfer troops button, it will automatically only transfer up to what I can allow, and it will give you the highest tier troops. Sometimes, obviously, you don't want to do that. You might want to get rid of some of your high-tier melee troops and add in a few more cav. But for the most part, if you just want a really solid army and you don't want to have to faff around with, oh, I want to get rid of that person, but then I want to add that one there, that takes ages. Just get rid of them all. So you've got 200 troops in here. Re-add them. It will take you up to your max and it will give you your most skilled, most qualified troops. My next tip for you is actually make your character as small as physically possible. If you've already got a playthrough going, you can just press V and you can change how your character looks at any point during the game. The hitbox actually is affected by the size of your character. If you are minuscule, you are going to dodge way more attacks. And also, when you're on horseback, it's easier to aim your melee weapons. If you're too big, especially swords can arc over enemies. So if you want to be efficient with your character, be really, really tiny. Next, we have a few tips that will hopefully help you with trade. You don't need to visit a town to find out the local prices. You actually only need to be within the vicinity of that town's influence. Let me talk you through what I mean, and hopefully we can all learn this one together, because this is fantastic. Especially when you're early game, or if you're wanting to be really time efficient, this is brilliant. What I mean, if I go into my inventory now, and I have a look at the price of beer, for instance, it's saying here that if I sold beer here, it's going to sell for 41 dinars per barrel of beer. I am currently in Poros's sphere of influence, so if I was to go to Poros, it would sell for 41. However, if I now go over this bridge, I am now in Vostrom's sphere of influence, so if I check again, beer now only sells for 28. So I know that beer is much more profitable in Poros than it is in Vostrom. Obviously, as you're heading towards Poros, the day is going to change, caravans might turn up, so that price will fluctuate ever so slightly. But let me show you that this works. I'm heading towards Poros now. I'm going to check. Beer apparently will now sell for 42. It's actually gone up in value. I'm going to keep heading to Poros. I'll check once more as we get halfway there. Beer, 41. It's gone back down to the regular price again. And we hop in. And sure enough, beer is selling for 41. It will show you the local price for that town, even if you're a mile away from it, as long as you are within the influence of that town. Now, obviously, at this moment in time, I'm not sure exactly where towns' spheres of influence start and end, but you can make a pretty good guess, and it really helps with being more time efficient with your movement. As you're running past Jalmaris here, towards Amitatis, you can just stop around here, pop open your inventory to see if it's worth making a detour to sell anything. Let me show you, let me do it right now. So we'll head up here, and again, as I'm running past Zeonica here, now that I'm well within Zeonica's sphere of influence, I can see if anything sells particularly well, and there you go, olives are crazy good here. So we'll pop in. It said they were going to sell for 39, and sure enough, 39. We'll sell a few of them, make a lot of money. Now we'll head towards Amitatis, but on the way, we'll check. When we're in Jalmaris' sphere of influence, we're going to pop it open, and we'll have a look and see. So nothing sells significantly well. Their date fruits are quite good, but we know it's not worth popping in. So we're just going to head over onto Amitatis. Again, see if it's worth it. Nope, not particularly, so we can move on. How good is that? That's going to save you so much time. Tip number 9. To continue on with the trade theme of these tips, I'm going to talk you through how to get the most trade experience for your items sold. And this is a very, very simple one. It's purely based on the amount of money you make, not the percentage of profit. Let me talk you through this. If I was to buy loads of grain for 7 dinars here and sell it somewhere else for 14 dinars, I'm making 100% profit on that. I am doubling my money. So if I was to buy 500 of them, I've just made a stupid amount of money. However, per item, I've only made 7 dinars. If I was to take that same amount of money and buy a load of Assyrian war horses from down south for 500 dinars, sell them all here for 1200, I would get way more trade experience than for the grain. It doesn't care about the percentage of profit, it cares how much money you made in that transaction. So the long and short of it is you always want to buy and sell the big price items. Obviously, any profitable trade is going to be good. It's all going to make you a bit of trade experience, but for the most part, and this is exactly why my trade guide is perfect, you just want to be transporting around lots of high value horses to get that trade skill up as quickly as possible. Tip number 10 is the 2 best weapons to buy and smelt to help you on your journey with smithing. Obviously, as you'll probably know from my smithing guide, I recommended the Pugio, and it's probably still my favorite recommendation, honestly, because it's so cheap. However, if you want a slightly higher quality of materials, nearly as cheap, and certainly in much higher abundance, is the Tribesman throwing daggers. The Pugio will probably only set you back about 200 dinars per piece on average, whereas the daggers are about 400, so they're nearly twice as expensive. However, they do yield 3 iron, which is a very prominent metal when smithing. So I'd say you probably want to start off with these and then transfer onto the daggers once your smithing's a little bit higher. You can get Pugios very easily in pretty much any Empire city, and you can get the Tribesman throwing daggers even easier down in Assyria. Now, this final tip is for increasing your scouting as quickly as possible. You want to make sure that you are the scout for your party. And we're basically going to abuse the tracks that show up. When you discover tracks, you will gain a small amount of scouting. And the bigger the army, the more experience you get. So, ideally, you want to be in a big army, and you want an enemy that's also in a big army. You need to be able to outrun them, but you obviously want to make sure they're not going to turn around and attack you. And then using a tip from one of my previous videos, you can do Alt-click to follow them indefinitely, and you will just keep tracking them. Stupid bloody lords are going to ruin my fun and kill them now. Anyway, as I was trying to say, you will just keep following them, and you will just keep tracking them and scouting their tracks constantly. With a small band of looters like this, that's an incredibly poor example. But as I say, later in game, when you have enough influence to make your own army, or just when you're powerful enough to do so, find an enemy lord who's significantly powerful, but not so much that they're going to pose a threat to you, and then just follow them around and just keep finding their tracks. Every single time they drop a track and you find it, you gain scouting experience, and the bigger that party, the better. I know people that have literally followed an army from one side of the map to the other, and by the time they're there, they've increased scouting from 100 to 150. So obviously scouting is still very tedious to level up early game. If you want to do the scouting yourself, I still advise getting a companion to do it for you. But late game, when you're dealing with big armies, just follow someone around and just keep revealing all of their tracks. Your scouting will fly up significantly. Okie dokie, and now we've got to the few bonus tips. Some of these may not be quite as useful as the ones you've seen previously in the video. Of course, we have pretty much exhausted everything you can do in this game by this point, but I thought there were a few things that may be worth knowing in certain situations. Firstly, as you have probably tried to do at some point in a siege, is run your horse up the stairs. Doesn't work. I don't know why you'd need to get your horse up the stairs, but if you did want to, you can just go backwards. I don't know how I found this out, but you can just go backwards upstairs. Just be careful on the way back down. You may take some fall damage. Also, as I'm in a town at the moment, I only have the one weapon equipped. However, sometimes you will have all 4 weapon slots equipped, and you will want to drop something specific without having to faff around with putting your sword away and getting your shield out and switching to your bow, etc. Well, as you probably already know, you press G to drop your weapon. If you hold G, it will bring up a radial dial and you can choose which weapon you would like to drop. So when you have multiple things in your inventory, you can drop the thing that you want to drop specifically without having to worry about equipping and unequipping things. And last but not least, the most fun one. I'm going to just have to explain this to you because my game keeps crashing because I'm currently on the wrong beta version and it would take me about 3 hours to move back to the correct version so I could show you. If you press and hold O at any time in a battle, the letter, not the number, it will bring up a bunch of numbers, and each one is associated with a different victory command. So you can do it mid-battle, but obviously it's best to do it at the end of a battle. You can cheer with your army. Now, it will let you do this mid-battle, and there is no way that I know of to interrupt the animation. So if you are mid-battle, I've done this in a tournament before, I've cheered at my opponent and then they've killed me. So if you are going to cheer with your army, try and leave the cheering until after all of your enemies are dead. That is it from me for this one. I really hope you've enjoyed this compilation of all of the things I've gathered over the year that we didn't know. And now, you know. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.